The look on her face when I slid the folder across the kitchen table, that's the moment I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. Not because it felt good, because it felt like justice. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Marcus Ward. I'm 43 years old, and for the last 12 years, I've owned and operated Ward Construction, a mid-size contracting company in Charlotte, North Carolina. We build custom homes, commercial renovations, strip malls, anything that needs a foundation and a roof. 41 employees, a fleet of trucks, and a reputation that took me 2 decades of 16-hour days to earn. My wife, Lauren, was a dental hygienist when we met. Gorgeous smile fitting, I suppose. She had this way of tilting her head when she laughed, like the whole world was a private joke, only she understood. We got married after 2 years of dating and built what I thought was a solid life. A 4-bedroom house in Myers Park, 2 cars, vacations to the Outer Banks every summer. Nothing flashy, just comfortable. I should have noticed the changes earlier. The new gym membership at a studio across town when there was a perfectly good one 5 minutes from our house. The late Thursday meetings that started 6 months ago. The way she'd angle her phone screen away from me when texts came in. Little things. The kind of things a man who works 60 hours a week can convince himself don't mean anything. The night everything changed started with a voicemail. I'd been on a job site in Gastonia all day, dealing with a plumbing subcontractor who couldn't read blueprints. Got home around 8, showered, heated up leftover pasta. Lauren had texted that she'd be home late another Thursday meeting at the dental office. I didn't think much of it until I noticed she'd left her iPad on the kitchen counter. It buzzed with an incoming FaceTime call. The name on the screen was Dr. K, with a heart emoji. My stomach dropped. I didn't answer it, but I did something I'd never done before in 12 years of marriage. I tried her passcode, our anniversary. It worked. What I found in the messages between Lauren and Dr. K, whose real name was Kevin Strickland, an orthodontist with a practice in South Park, made me sit down on the kitchen floor like someone had cut the strings holding me up. 6 months of messages. Photos I wish I could burn out of my brain. Plans. Detailed. Specific plans about their future together. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was a group text between Lauren, her mother Diane, and her sister Brooke. A thread titled, Operation Fresh Start. I scrolled through it for an hour, sitting on that cold tile floor while my pasta got cold on the counter. They'd been strategizing for months. Diane had consulted with a divorce attorney friend. Brooke had been gathering information about my business finances by sweet-talking my office manager at a family barbecue last 4th of July. Lauren had been documenting every argument we'd ever had, every time I raised my voice, every night I came home late from work, building a narrative that I was an absent, emotionally abusive husband. The plan was elegant in its cruelty. They were going to serve me divorce papers at my own company's annual holiday party, in front of my employees, my clients, and my business partners. They wanted to humiliate me publicly, destabilize my professional relationships, and use my reaction, which they assumed would be explosive, as evidence of the volatile temper Lauren had been documenting. The party was in 3 weeks. One message from Diane stuck in my chest like a splinter. Once we get his company valued and split, you and Kevin can finally stop sneaking around. Lauren, sweetie, you've been slumming it long enough. Kevin has a boat. Slumming it. 12 years. 2 miscarriages we'd grieved together. The year I sat by her hospital bed when she had her gallbladder removed. Slumming it. I put the iPad back exactly where I'd found it, went to the garage, sat in my truck, and stared at the wall for a long time. Then I called the only person in the world I trusted completely. My younger brother Nathan answered on the second ring. Nathan was a CPA with his own firm in Raleigh. Smart, cautious, and pathologically loyal. When I told him what I'd found, the line went quiet for about 30 seconds. How much time do we have? He asked. 3 weeks. That's plenty. Don't do anything stupid tonight. Come to my office tomorrow morning. We're going to take your life apart and put it back together in a way they'll never see coming. I barely slept that night. Lauren came home around midnight, smelling like expensive cologne that wasn't mine. She kissed my forehead while I pretended to be asleep. Love you, she whispered. I almost believed her. Almost. Nathan's office was a small suite above a barbershop on Hillsborough Street. He had coffee waiting and his laptop open when I arrived at 7. First things first, he said. North Carolina is an equitable distribution state, not community property. The court divides assets fairly, not necessarily 50-50. Your company was started before the marriage, which helps, but 12 years of marital contributions complicates things. We need to make this clean. Over the next week, Nathan and I restructured everything. Ward Construction's ownership was transferred into a family trust with Nathan as trustee and my nephew Derek, Nathan's son, 27, who'd been working as my project manager for 3 years as the primary beneficiary. My investment accounts were reorganized into instruments that would take months to unwind in court. The house, which I'd bought before the marriage and stupidly put Lauren's name on during a romantic gesture 5 years ago, was the one thing I couldn't protect easily. "Let them have the house," Nathan said. "It's worth 400 grand with a $200,000 mortgage. In the scheme of things, it's a distraction. Let them fight over it while they miss the real money." I also hired a private investigator named Gail Rooney, a no-nonsense former sheriff's deputy who ran a one-woman operation out of a strip mall in Kannapolis. Gail was 62 years old, chain-smoked menthols, and had a success rate that would make the FBI jealous. Within 5 days, Gail delivered a folder that would have made a soap opera writer blush. Kevin Strickland wasn't just dating my wife. He was married. His wife, Nina Strickland, was a pediatric surgeon at Atrium Health. They had 2 kids, ages 9 and 12. Kevin also had a gambling problem. He owed over $80,000 to various online sportsbooks and had been skimming from his own practice to cover the losses. "Your wife sure can pick 'em," Gail said, tapping ash off her cigarette. "This guy's a walking time bomb." Does his wife know? Not yet. But she's not stupid. She's been checking their joint account statements. My guess? She suspects but doesn't have proof. Get me that proof. Photos, dates, hotel receipts, everything. Already done. Gail slid a USB drive across the table. I don't do halfway. The holiday party was scheduled for December 14th at the Grandover, a resort south of Greensboro where we held the event every year. White tablecloths, open bar, prime rib, the whole 9 yards. My employees looked forward to it all year. Lauren had been acting unusually cheerful in the days leading up to it. She'd bought a new red dress, got her hair done, even suggested we drive together, which she never did for work events. "It'll be fun," she said, adjusting her earrings in the bathroom mirror, like a real date night. "Sounds perfect," I said, smiling at her reflection. She had no idea I'd spent the morning reviewing every detail of my counter-operation with Nathan and Gail. She had no idea that I'd already spoken to my attorney, a bulldog named Frank Howell, who'd handled contract disputes for my company for years and was more than happy to take on a divorce case when he heard the circumstances. She had no idea that the evening she'd planned as my destruction would become the most satisfying night of my life. The party was in full swing by 7:30. My employees were laughing, drinks were flowing, and the DJ was playing classic Motown. I worked the room like I always did, shaking hands, thanking people for their hard work, making sure the food was good. Lauren stuck close to her phone all evening, texting under the table. Diane and Brooke arrived around 8, which was unusual. They'd never come to a company event before. Diane was wearing pearls and a smile that could curdle milk. Brooke carried a designer purse big enough to hide a legal document. I watched them huddle near the bar, whispering. Brooke kept glancing at me. Diane patted Lauren's arm reassuringly. The 3 of them moved toward my table like a formation. "Marcus," Lauren said, her voice projecting loud enough for the nearby tables to hear. "We need to talk about something important." "Sure, sweetheart. What's on your mind?" She reached into Brooke's purse and pulled out a manila envelope. Her hands were shaking, but her jaw was set. She'd rehearsed this. "I filed for divorce," she said, placing the envelope in front of me. "I think it's best for both of us." The tables around us went quiet. I could feel my employees watching, some with their forks frozen halfway to their mouths. This was exactly the scene they'd wanted. The humiliation. The spectacle. I picked up the envelope, opened it slowly, and scanned the first page. Then I looked up at Lauren, at Diane's triumphant smirk, at Brooke's phone angled to record my reaction. "Okay," I said. Lauren blinked. "Okay?" "Yeah. Okay. I think you're right. This is best for both of us." I pulled a pen from my jacket, the same pen I used to sign million-dollar construction contracts, and signed every page they'd marked. Carefully, deliberately, while they watched in stunned silence. "There you go," I said, sliding the envelope back to her. "Merry Christmas, Lauren." I stood up, straightened my tie, and addressed the room. "Sorry about the interruption, folks. Please enjoy the rest of the evening. Drinks are on me." Then I walked out of the Grandover, got in my truck, and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I could see Lauren standing in the doorway, the envelope hanging limply in her hand, her mother grabbing her arm, her sister's phone still recording nothing but confusion. They'd expected rage, tears, begging. Instead, they got a man who signed his name and wished them a Merry Christmas. The calls started within the hour. "Lauren, Marcus, What was that? We need to discuss the terms. Diane, you can't just sign and leave. There are assets to divide. Brooke, you're going to regret this. I let them all go to voicemail. The next morning, I was at the warehouse by 6, reviewing projects with Derek when Lauren showed up. She'd clearly been crying all night. Her red party dress was replaced by sweatpants and a wrinkled jacket. We need to talk about the house, the business, the accounts, she said, standing in my office doorway. What about them? They need to be divided. My lawyer says, your lawyer can talk to my lawyer, Frank Howell. Here's his card. Marcus, stop being difficult. I know what you make. I know what this company is worth. Do you? I leaned back in my chair. Because according to the most recent valuation, I'm an employee here. The company belongs to a family trust. My investment accounts have been restructured. And the house? You can have it, along with the mortgage. The color drained from her face exactly the way I'd imagined it would. You can't. When did you? That's fraud. It's estate planning. Perfectly legal. My accountant and my lawyer both signed off on it. Feel free to challenge it in court. It'll take about 2 years and cost you more in legal fees than you'd ever recover. She stood there, mouth opening and closing, searching for words that wouldn't come. How did you know? She finally whispered. You left your iPad unlocked. The realization hit her like a truck. Every text, every photo, every message in the Operation Fresh Start group thread. She knew I'd seen all of it. Marcus, I can explain. No, you can't. But I'll tell you what you can do. You can go back to Kevin and his $80,000 in gambling debt, and his wife who's about to find out everything, and you can figure out your next move. Because I'm done being part of your plans. His wife? What do you mean? I didn't answer. She didn't need to know the details. Not yet. Lauren left my office in tears. I watched her through the window as she sat in her car, frantically making calls. Probably to Kevin, probably to Diane. Probably to anyone who could explain how her bulletproof plan had a hole in it the size of a freight truck. Over the next 10 days, the dominoes fell. Domino 1. Nina Strickland received an anonymous package containing 6 months of hotel receipts, photographs, and a detailed timeline of her husband's affair. She filed for divorce within 48 hours. Because she was the breadwinner, and Kevin had been draining their finances with gambling, she got everything: the house, custody, and a restraining order. Domino 2. Kevin's gambling debts became public during the divorce proceedings. The state dental board opened an investigation into his practice finances. 2 of his associates quit. His patient referrals dried up overnight. Domino 3. Lauren's attorney realized that the assets she'd expected to claim in the divorce simply didn't exist in my name anymore. The house had negative equity once you factored in the second mortgage. Lauren didn't know I knew about the one she'd quietly taken out to fund shopping trips and weekend getaways with Kevin. Her attorney called Frank Howell and was told, in polite legal terms, that Lauren was entitled to roughly half of what I'd owned when we got married, about $30,000, and a used Ford F-150. Domino 4. Diane made the mistake of showing up at my warehouse to talk some sense into me. She brought Brooke for backup. What she didn't know was that Derek was in the front office, and he'd been briefed on the entire situation. Can I help you? He asked politely. I need to see Marcus, Diane demanded. I'm his mother-in-law. Former mother-in-law, Derek corrected. And Mr. Ward isn't available. If you have legal matters to discuss, please contact his attorney. Diane tried to push past him. Derek, 6'3", 220 pounds, built from years of hauling lumber, didn't move. Ma'am, this is private property. If you don't leave, I'll have to call the police. Do you know who I am? Yes, ma'am. You're the woman who called my uncle slumming it. Now please leave before I make that call. Diane's face went white. She turned and left without another word. Brooke followed, heels clicking rapidly on the concrete. The final domino was the most satisfying. 3 weeks after the holiday party, I got a call from Gail Rooney. You're going to want to hear this, she said. Kevin Strickland just got arrested. For what? Insurance fraud. Turns out the gambling wasn't his only side hustle. He's been filing false claims through his practice for years, hundreds of thousands of dollars. The dental board investigation turned it up, and they referred it to the DA. And Lauren? Her name's on some of the paperwork. She was his office manager for the last 3 months. Did you know that? I didn't. After Lauren lost her hygienist position at her original office, the one where she'd actually been working before she started spending all her time with Kevin, she'd apparently gone to work for him. And in doing so, she'd put her signature on billing documents that were now evidence in a criminal investigation. She's not arrested yet, Gail said, but the DA's office wants to talk to her. If she cooperates, she might avoid charges. If she doesn't, Lauren called me that night. Not angry this time. Scared. Marcus, I'm in trouble. Real trouble. They're saying I could be charged as an accessory to insurance fraud. I didn't know what Kevin was doing. I swear I didn't know. I believe you, I said. And I meant it. Lauren was many things, selfish, dishonest, manipulative, but she wasn't a criminal mastermind. She'd gotten swept up in Kevin's world without understanding what she was stepping into. I need a lawyer. A real one. Not the divorce attorney Mom found on the internet. You do. I can't afford one. I don't have anything, Marcus. The house is underwater. Kevin's assets are frozen. Mom and Brooke can't help. I was quiet for a long time. This was the moment I'd thought about for weeks. The moment where I could twist the knife, let her drown in the mess she'd made, watch her lose everything the way she'd planned for me to lose everything. But sitting in my apartment, a clean, simple one-bedroom near the Noda Arts District, I realized something. Revenge had gotten me here. It had protected my business, my employees, my family's future. It had served its purpose. But cruelty for cruelty's sake? That wasn't who I built myself to be. I'll give you Frank Howell's number, I said. He knows a criminal defense attorney. Good one. Tell her I sent you, and she'll work out a payment plan. Why would you help me? Because I'm not you, Lauren. I never was. She was crying when I hung up. But this time, I didn't feel satisfaction. I just felt tired. The good kind of tired. The kind you feel after you've laid the last brick on a job you're proud of. Lauren cooperated with the DA's office and avoided criminal charges. Kevin pleaded guilty and got 18 months of probation plus restitution. His dental license was suspended. Last I heard, he was working at a rental car counter at the airport. Diane and Brooke disappeared from my life completely. No calls, no visits, no dramatic confrontations. Turns out people lose their nerve when they realize they have no leverage. The divorce was finalized in February. Lauren got the house, which she immediately sold at a loss to cover the second mortgage. She moved into an apartment in Concord and went back to school for nursing. I wished her well and meant it. Ward construction had its best year ever. Derek stepped into a VP role and brought in 3 new commercial contracts. Nathan kept the finances bulletproof. My guys on the job sites never knew how close things had come to falling apart, and that was exactly how I wanted it. As for me, I started dating again around April. Nothing serious. Just dinners, conversations, remembering what it felt like to be around someone who asked about my day and actually cared about the answer. One Saturday morning, I was at a coffee shop in Plaza Midwood, reading the paper, when a woman sat down at the next table. She had dark hair, reading glasses, and a book about structural engineering. We started talking about load-bearing walls, which might be the least romantic conversation topic in history. But she laughed at my jokes and I laughed at hers, and by the time our coffees were cold, I'd asked for her number. Her name was Angela. She was a civil engineer. She thought construction workers were the backbone of civilization, not something to be ashamed of. But that's a different story. I think about that night at the Grandover sometimes. The look on Lauren's face when I signed those papers without blinking. The confusion, the panic, the slow dawning realization that she'd underestimated me in every way that mattered. She'd planned for a man who would crumble, who would rage and beg and give her exactly the ammunition she needed. Instead, she got a man who builds things for a living. And the thing about builders is we know exactly how to take something apart, piece by piece, carefully, methodically, until there's nothing left but a clean foundation to start over on. That's what I did. I tore it all down, and then I built something better,